here's the big fella all done then. In the last part I said I was going to go around all the wounds and stuff with various mixtures of Tamiya red and green, picking out all the lovely detail, which I've been doing. In some places, like here, I've been using more red than green and watering it right down, so the flesh base coat shows through, and then glossed it to make that look like a pretty fresh wound. In other places I've been going more towards the green and not glossing it, just to get a bit of variation and make that look like a bit of an older wound. So that's what I've been doing, just going around, as I say, changing the ratios, sometimes leaving it a day, mixing up a fresh batch, come to it fresh, just so you get a bit of a variation. In the last part I said how I was going to paint the spinal column and then wash it with a thin clear red, which I've done, but I've kept the darker bits at the side just to give it a bit more depth and again a bit more variation. I don't know how you're going to make this out because it's very bright today, but I've been picking out all the boils and the puzzles again in different ratios, sometimes red, sometimes just clear green, as I say, just to get a bit of a difference in there. I don't like it when everything looks exactly the same. The horns I've kept dark green, again for a bit of contrast, and kept them quite matte. His eyes, his one good eye, I've used like a mid-grey for the pupil to suggest some sort of cataract going on there. The other eye, I didn't realise until I actually went to paint it, is he's actually got a scar on his eyebrow, splits his eyeball, goes down his cheek and down to his mouth. So that's not actually a pupil, it's a split eyeball, which I think is a bit silly. If you've got a split eyeball, it's going to burst, isn't it? But there you go, can't do anything about it. Teeth I've left nice and browny, again, just for a bit of contrast. The tongue I'm really pleased with. That was just a basic bleach bone washed with brown inks, and then I've picked out all the cuts on it. And because I was pleased with that, that actually changed what I was going to do with the sword. The sword originally, because it's so beat up and scarred, I originally had that a very dark brown with tons and tons of orange rust. But I found that by having that like that, you kind of lost the tongue. The tongue really faded into the background, and I didn't want that. So I've repainted it, and you can see there's just the odd here and there bit of rust left. Okay, this little tendril coming out of his belly, I painted white with a very weak clear red. I wanted to infer that that's something living inside him rather than an intestine bursting out, because an intestine wouldn't do that, would it? Speaking of the intestines, in the last part I said I was still really happy with them, and I was, and I've done what I said I'd do. All I've done is I've just washed them with very thin clear red, just to break up the grey a bit, and then I've glossed and glossed and glossed to make this look really fresh. Something I haven't mentioned before is at the base here you've got a Nurgle, okay, and he's like giving that bit of intestine a cuddle. I can't stand Nurglings. When you've got a huge, great demonic creature like this, the demon of decay and corruption, etc, etc, then you have these little comedy fat guys running around. Can't stand the fellas. So originally I was going to like maybe lop him off, but then I'd lose that bit of intestine, and I really like that bit of intestine. So as you can see, I've painted him, and I was going to put a bit of grass or something to just disguise him a bit, but in the end I decided not to do that because I wanted the base nice and plain, just so it wouldn't detract from the fella. So I've just done him in dark greys, put some clear red on the base, just to show that you know, he's seeping into the soil. And there you go. I think that's him done. Very happy with how he's come out. Been a lot of fun to do, but too expensive.